Welcome to episode 16 of the Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life podcast with myself, Candace James. And today we are talking about the F word. And no, not that word. We are talking about fear. Fear is the ultimate F word because fear is the number one thing that holds any of us back from living our best lives. So that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. What is fear? How does it hold us back? How is it created? And how can you start to move past fear so you can actually start to do the things you want to do in this thing we called life? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Candace James, and I've spent the last decade traveling the world, building a business, and most recently, writing a book. All while learning and teaching the secrets to rewiring the brain so that you can stop living in your head with overthinking, worry, anxiety, fear, self-doubt, and guilt. And finally create the peace of mind you need to live the life you've been dreaming of. Because I'll let you in on a little secret. Your own thoughts are the only things getting in your way. You're listening to the Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life podcast. Welcome back to this episode of Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life with, again, me, Candace James. This is the day we are talking about the F word, fear. Fear, as I just mentioned, is the number one thing that holds us back from actually getting out there, creating, living, and loving the life that we dream of. Fear. And to start us off, I would like to give the definition of fear. Taken from the dictionary. Fear is a noun. It is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or a threat. And I'm going to read that again. It is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or a threat. It is an emotion caused by a belief. And a belief, as we speak about frequently in this podcast and in my recently released book, a belief is basically just something you created in your mind and you chose to make it true. So the number one thing that's holding us back is something that we chose one day to make it true, and then we held on to it. So essentially, the only thing holding us back is our own selves, or more specifically, our own minds. Ding, ding. Those minds of ours are always getting in the way. And that is why I recently wrote a book that has just been released for pre-order at the time of this recording called Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life, your guide to thriving in our modern world. And chapter 4 is actually called Fear is a Creation of Your Mind. And this is the most interesting thing, right? What we just realized in just that one moment, we just dissected one sentence, a definition, and we realized that fear is created by our own selves. We create fear, we think of something random, we scare ourselves, and then we attach to that fear and we stop ourselves from moving forward. Now, I like to say, fuck fear, do it anyway. Fuck fear, do it anyway. That has become my motto. Because just like when I suffered from anxiety, I had to start to realize that all of these thoughts, these fears, these anxieties were all created in my mind. It's a construct of my own mind. That is it. Now, danger, we'll talk about that later. Danger is something very different. Danger is very real. Fear is something that we made up, something that we create, each one of us. Each one of us is scared of something different. right? Of course, none of us would like to get in a car accident and get badly injured. None of us would like to do that. But there are some of us who can't even get in a car because that's all that they can think of. It's all consuming. What if that happens? There's some people that can't walk over a bridge because they fear that they're going to fall. That used to be my jam. I'm still not super good at heights. But I can do it now because I can realize that I'm creating a fear in my head that isn't real. And I can very often remove it. Right? Fear is something that we all create. I've literally, so I grew up just outside of Toronto, and in Toronto they have the CN Tower, which for a long time was the tallest man-made building, tower, whatever you want to call it. And it has a glass floor. And it's very, very, very high up in the sky. And they say that it's actually, I believe they say it's like stronger than the actual cement floor because it's super reinforced and all this stuff going on, that it could actually hold several elephants. And, it's an incredibly strong floor. And yet I couldn't step on it. There'd be like 30 people stepping on it and running around and laying on it, taking pictures. My nieces, I used to take them up there. They'd be running around, laying on it, and I would not. Because in my head, it was going to fall the second I stepped on it, which obviously is not true. And yet, I couldn't detach from it. I could not stand on it. And so you see how it's created in my mind, right? Each and every day, there would be, I don't know the exact numbers, but I reckon there was thousands of people that would walk on that floor over decades. And yet, somehow I created a belief in my mind that if I stepped on it, I would crash to my death. And it sounds silly when we talk about it, but we all have these things. Some people are scared of riding a bike. Some people are scared of touching a fish in a fish tank. We all have different fears. And it is these fears that stop us from doing so much of what we actually want to do in life. Fear of what people will think of us. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of failing, fear of losing money, fear of losing a job, fear of losing a loved one, fear of losing, your favorite book, fear of losing your favorite jewelry, right? How many people have really amazing, this is such an old analogy, right? But how many people have that really good set of china dishes, right? Plates and bowls, and you never use them because you're scared, you have a fear that they're going to break. And then what? If they break, you won't be able to use them, but you're not using them now because you're scared they're going to break. So you're actually realizing your worst fear is that you can't use them. And we do this to ourselves all the freaking time. We constantly create these beliefs and these fears that hold us back from doing what we want in life. And again, this is exactly why my favorite saying is fuck the fear and do it anyway. Because if we spend our whole lives stopping ourselves because we're scared of what might happen, could happen someday, maybe, I don't know, but maybe it's possible. And so if we stop ourselves from moving forward because of these minute possibilities that we've created inside of our mind, we will never get to do what we really want to do in life. We will never get to live that dream life that we've been imagining all this time. We just won't. It just is that way. That's just how it is. And so I want to read to you an excerpt from chapter 4. So each chapter has a bit of a story of how I have used these in real life. And then we get into the theories. So this is an excerpt from the theories of chapter 4, which is fear is a creation of your mind. And it says, many humans spend the majority of their lives paralyzed in fear and keeping it disguised by simply doing their job or living a normal life. On the outside, they're going to work, having a family, attending social gatherings, and perhaps even going on vacation once or twice a year. But on the inside, they have dreams and desires that they say no to each and every day because of the fear they feel when they think about what it would look like if they actually pursued these things. And so they keep on keeping on, nothing changing year after year. Because why? Because fear. And yet, fear is nothing but an emotion that erupts when a thought pops up in your mind that's based in a belief that something dangerous or bad could happen in the future. And of course, a belief, as we now know, is nothing more than a story that we've created in our mind that we have chosen at some point in our lifetime to believe as a truth. So from that excerpt, we see, right? We are doing things. We're going to our jobs. We're not following our dreams because of fear. And what does that fear look like? For example, you go to work each and every day. You don't like your job. You complain about it to everybody every single day. And yet you get up and you go to it each and every day. I think if you aren't this person, then I think we all know at least one person like this. I hate my job. I hate my boss. I hate what I do. I don't like it. When I get home, I need a new job. I need a new job. I need a new job. And yet they keep on going. Why? Because fear. They fear what will happen if they try to get a new job. Perhaps the job that they're in feels secure. They feel like they know that they can continue to wake up each and every day and they're going to have that job. If they go get a new job, what if something happens and then they get let go or it doesn't work out or they're not good enough and they get fired or, this job, they know they're doing a good job because they've been there for a really long time. So they know that it's a pretty secure bet, unless something really big happens and they can't go anymore. But overall, it seems pretty secure. I know what I'm doing. They like the work I do. Even though I don't like actually going there, it's safe. It feels safe. And so many people will spend decades in a job that they don't like. Maybe they actually really want to start a business or go out on their own. And yet, every time they think of that, they think, well, what if I lose the money? Then, what's going to happen to my family? I won't be able to support myself. I might lose my house. I might lose my car. I might lose this. I might, you know what? No, scratch that. I'm just going to stay doing what I'm doing right here, right now. That's it. Because the what ifs are the scariest part. And I can assure you that thinking about the what ifs over and over and over again is infinitely scarier than actually having it happen. I encourage you, if you start to get caught up in a fear, to allow yourself to imagine what is the worst case scenario. And then work backwards. Okay, what would I do if that happened? And so, often we'll sit around being scared that let's say we lose our job. Oh my gosh, what if I lose my job? What if I lose my job? What if I lose my job? Well, I don't know. What if you lose your job? Oh, well, then I'd have to start looking for a new one. Okay, great. So, go look for a new one. And I'm not saying it isn't scary to lose a job, but living our lives in fear of losing the job, to me, is a lot scarier. I'm going to read another little bit from this chapter here, and it says, fear is a construct of the mind. Think about something you're afraid of right now. Go ahead, take a moment, and think of anything that you're afraid of. Got it? You sure? Can you feel the physiological response when you think of this thing that you're afraid of? How does your body react? And now let me ask you, is that thing you're afraid of happening right now? No, it's not. It's not. Because if that thing was happening to you right now, I'm sure you wouldn't just sit here and continue to read this book / listen to this podcast thinking, oh wow, look at everybody laughing at me for failing at that project. I'll just sit here and continue reading or listening. Or my spouse is literally handing me divorce papers as we speak, but I really got to finish the rest of this chapter. I mean, look, I realize this book is phenomenal and you don't want to put it down, but if your greatest fears were being actualized in this moment, no matter how good this book is, you would most definitely have put it down by now. Which means whatever it is that you fear is something that hasn't happened yet. Or it's something that has happened in the past and the memory of it is causing you to fear that it might happen again now or in the future. Do you fear losing your job? That means you currently haven't lost it yet because you couldn't fear losing it. So you're thinking about and fearing something that hasn't happened yet. And it might never happen. Do you fear that you're not a good mom and your kids are going to be screwed up and it'll be all your fault? Well, then they're obviously still young, or you couldn't fear that they'll grow up a certain way because otherwise they would be grown up already and you'd know how they turned out. Or perhaps you see that your kids have screwed up in their life and you fear that the way they are is your fault. This time you're fearing the results of something that has happened in the past and it is no longer in your control. And for extra icing on the cake, what you actually fear is still something that you have no control over in the future. Making sense? You see, any way you slice fear, it's not tangible. And it's not something that's happening to you right now at this moment. Fear is created in your mind. It is a story that you're making up with thoughts in your head. In other words, you're fearing your own thoughts and ideas. And, this is so important because fear and danger are two very different things. When we start to fear something, we think that we're keeping ourselves safe by not putting ourselves in a position for whatever it is that you've imagined to happen. But what often happens in our lives is we have such amazing imaginations that we create all sorts of possibilities that could, might, maybe happen in the future. And we get so scared that they could become a reality that we get stuck in the moment. But you will never know if that would ever happen if you don't just continue on living your life. And let me tell you, no matter how scared you are of what could possibly happen in the future, time will not stand still. We are consistently moving forward, constantly moving forward. And so to fear a possible outcome of the future is not doing you any good. We can recognize it. We can mitigate risk, right? With all Corona going on and all of that stuff. I mean, we can sit here and we can fear that I'm going to get it and I'm going to this and it's going to be detrimental. It's going to be awful. Or we can say, okay, this is what's happening. What do I need to do to protect myself, my family, my friends, my community? Great. And once you do that, then you must move forward. And it's the same in life. Okay, I hate this job. I want to look for a new one. Fear. What if I quit this job and then that job doesn't work out and now how am I going to have money for my kids? Okay, well maybe before you quit your job, let's get a little saving bank. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room. What happens? Oh, I'm going to go traveling, but what happens if I get there and I feel uncomfortable and I don't know what I'm doing or da-da-da. Okay, if you've never traveled before, maybe you start off by visiting someone you know. I don't know, right? There's ways to mitigate the quote unquote risk of what you have attached a fear to inside of your mind. But there's always a way forward. There was always a way forward. And so living in fear of something that may or may not happen just creates continued amounts of stress on our bodies, on our minds. And then there's danger, right? Danger is very real. Danger is when, maybe you are, driving on the highway and somebody cuts you off and you have to immediately slam on the brakes and swerve out of the way so that you do not end up in a collision. The moment that that person enters your lane is danger. Danger. Your life literally right in that moment is being threatened. Get out of it. That's danger. But it's not fear. Fear is very rarely experienced in a moment of danger, because danger means that our life is being threatened. And when we are in a moment of danger, our body is designed to just boom, act, just act. And this is why you hear so many people who were in what one might call a life or death situation, a very, an accident, an emergency. We often hear that when people are in these very intense situations, in dangerous situations, that when they come out of them, they don't even have a clue how they got there. What happened? How did I get out of that? Right? It's how you hear about people lifting cars when their kids are in danger, or how, for my own example, when I was living in Thailand, I was riding my motorbike and I was going through an intersection, and this car was, I was at a T intersection. They were driving down the main road. They had their left turn signal on. They started to turn I guess it was a crossed intersection, but they were starting to turn left, which was the road going straight in front of me. And so they had their blinker on, they started turning. So I started to go and I was going to follow them into that road. And last minute, I guess they decided they didn't want to turn. So instead, they swerved back out to go straight for them, which meant they were going completely perpendicular to me. And I was headed straight for the side of this massive pickup truck on my motorbike. And so then I don't know what happened. I saw that situation. It registered in my mind like, And then the next thing you know, I was standing about 6 inches, maybe a foot in front of the side of the truck. And my motorbike was under the truck. And I was just standing there, staring at the side of the truck, going, what in the heck just happened? 1 moment ago, I was on the motorbike, headed right for the side of the truck, and now I'm standing here, 30 centimeters or a foot away from the truck, just on my 2 feet, staring at the truck. The truck has stopped. I'm staring there. The bike is a little bit wedged under a wheel, and I'm just like, what happened, right? The guy looks at me. He's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? He comes out. He gets the bike out. The bike's still working. I'm like, yeah. No, I'm fine. And I felt fine. I felt fine in that moment. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah. Okay, the bike still works. Okay, great. See you later. So I get back on the bike and I start driving. I was on my way to a friend's restaurant. And all of a sudden, I'm maybe 20 seconds on the bike. And all of a sudden, I start shaking. And all I can think of is, what in the heck just happened? I almost died. What if I wasn't able to do that? How did I even do that? All these thoughts started coming through my head about, oh my gosh, how did I escape that? How did this happen? What if I didn't? And then, I started thinking about imagine I actually died in that intersection. All these thoughts start flooding. I start shaking. I start sobbing. I had to pull the bike over and sit down on the side of the road and just release the emotion. The fear happened after the danger. The fear happened after my mind clued into what just happened and said, oh my gosh, there was so much other stuff that could have, possibly, maybe happened. And it starts to create these cycles of thoughts. And that's when I felt the fear. That's when I started getting really scared. But in the moment of danger, my body took over. It did what it needed to do. And what we need to do is trust that our bodies will always do what it needs to do. And on that note, not just our bodies, but our being will do what we need to do. You lose your job and you weren't expecting it, well, you will figure it out. You will do what it takes to figure it out. You just will. It's human nature. And we have lost so much touch with the fact that we at our core of ourselves, we want to survive. We will do what it takes to survive. So the fear is this construct we have of the what ifs, the might haves, the could happens. Danger is when our life is literally being threatened in that moment. And yet we live so much of our lives being afraid of danger. So, what do we take away from all of this? I want you to look at areas of your life that you've been wishing for something different, that you've been wanting something different. You want to quit that job. You want to go for this dream. You want to write that book. You want to start that business. You want to do something different. You want to break up with that person that you've been in a relationship with so freaking long, and you know it's sucking your soul dry, but you're so scared. You have so much fear of what life will look like on the other side of that. We fear the unknown because it could be anything. But let me tell you, you will survive because that is what we do as humans. It's just what we do. And we need to learn and remember to put our trust in that. Instead of trying to think about all the possible potential ways, there's millions of things that could happen at any given moment. And if anything, 2021 taught us that nothing is ever certain. Anything can happen. But we will survive. It's what we do. And so thinking back, right, we can live our whole lives scared that maybe, we really want to start that business, but we're also really scared that it's going to fail, so we just don't. We're scared we're going to look stupid, so we don't do it. We're scared we won't find somebody else, so we never break up with that person that is no good for us, that's sucking our soul dry. And then all of a sudden we get to the end of the life and we never really achieved any of that anyways. If you never go out and try to build that business, you can't fail, fair, but you're failing in and of itself because you're just never even putting in the effort. So you're never going to see it happen. So what's better? At least, I would much rather any given day say, I can't believe I did that. Wow, I can't believe I did that. Rather than, wow, I wish I had done that. And the only thing that stands between those two differences is fear. Are the stories that we create inside of our mind that hold us back from actually taking the steps forward that we need to take. In order to have those dreams realized, in order to wake up each and every day knowing that you are living your best dang life and you are living the life that you want. We put everything on hold for so long based out of fear. But this is the only life you know you're going to have. It's the only one that's guaranteed. And yet we spend so much of it fearing what would happen if we did something that we truly wanted. So just do it. Fuck fear. Do it anyway. So I hope you enjoyed this little rant on fear, on the F word, the most important F word to keep in your mind. And get that F word out of there. Recognize it, see it, and keep going. Our brain is trained. Its job is to keep us alive, so it's always trying to think of ways that possibly we could fail, but you just must thank that brain for doing its job and say, I still would like to do this, and carry on. Feel the fear and push through. It's the only way you'll get to where you want to be in your life. So if you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to please learn more about fear, about how to shift your fear, about the tools that you can use to shift your fear so that you can finally show up and create that life that you truly love from the inside out. Because it's time that you stop settling for less. It's time that you stop succumbing to the fear and you start actually creating a life that you love from the inside out. And that's exactly what I talk about in the book, Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life, a guide to thriving in your modern world. And you can pick it up now at CandiceJames.com/book. And if you do order it on the pre-order right now, you get some amazing bonuses that go with it, including a live workshop with myself, online live workshop, the chance to win one-on-one coaching with myself, and so much more. So please go check it out, CandiceJames.com/book. We jump into fear and so much more inside the book, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Until next time, peace.